Today's presentation is on maintaining client relationships through tech. And so I've got a nice graphic I'll pull up for that. Not that one. So technology is something that we at Alta Realty Group, we really take seriously. It's really something that we push because we know everything's heading that direction. And we as Alta Realty Group agents want to be at the forefront, and we want to make sure that we're always pushing the envelope. So a couple different ways that we can use technology to maintain these client relationships. And first of all, so the three different ways are texting, using our CRM, and then also building our personal brand digitally, which is something we almost constantly talk about. I mean, this is like a reoccurring theme. So first of all, I just want to go over the fact that on average, this is cited by The Atlantic, which is a census company. On average, people move more than 11 times in a lifetime. So that is just great to understand that. So if you have a client that you're working with, possibly you have the opportunity to take advantage of, obviously all those 11 times are not buying homes, but a large percentage of them may be for some people. And so we have the opportunity to get that repeat business. And so, and obviously a challenge that all agents have is how do we create that long lasting relationship with a client? So when they're ready to move again, they're going to come back to us. This is something we talked about extensively last week, right? So a major challenge that we have is just to keep that relationship going. So we can use technology to do that. And again, it can't all just be technology. We got to use technology to also implement our sales 101, our relationship 101, business 101 stuff that has been constant since business started, right? I mean, for millennia. So, and a lot of times we get a little bit sidetracked, not sidetracked, but we're busy, doing our regular stuff, spending time with trying to get new clients, right? However, we've got to still invest time into nurturing the long-term relationships with the old clients, because as we looked at last week, I forget the exact stats, but it was something like only 24% of sellers used the same. In fact, it was 24% used the same realtor in their following transaction. However, 80% of them right after the transaction would say, yeah, I would use that agent again. So massive disconnect, massive problem for the industry and for individual agents. And there's certain agents that do this really well and other agents that maybe don't do it so well. So one of the first things that I want to go through is take advantage of texting. Right? And Travis and I, we talk about this all the time. Travis, how important is just our text features and just texting in general?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, texting is probably.
Oops. Are you muted? Travis, unmute yourself.
Sorry.
There you go.
So whether you like it or not, texting is, here to stay, at least for the near future. I find that more people are responsive to a text message, especially, a beginning lead, than a phone call. I don't know what it is, but maybe it still is creating a little bit of space. They're not ready to talk yet, but I find that new leads will text more often than accept a phone call. So, and I equate Messenger to texting as well. I think that it's just as important if you're doing anything on Facebook.
That's a huge point, Travis. Using Facebook Messenger is pretty darn effective. And so again, texting is, it's very effective, but it cannot be abused. Right? And so I'm honestly not really a huge fan of making a preliminary uh, contact via text. I think I get annoyed when companies try to do that. So I don't think that's what we're talking about here. But what we are talking about is once you have a lead, once you have a contact with someone, once you have a relationship with someone, texting is actually it's a preferred way to communicate because it's on their terms. It is effective because they see it. Everybody sees a text. Even if they don't respond to it, they see it a lot more than they would see an email. I don't know about you guys, but I get over 300 emails a day. I hate email. It's not the best way to get a hold of me. Texting, I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it. And I'm the same as everybody else. And studies say that 67% of people would rather text with a business about scheduling appointments, stuff like that, than by a regular phone or email. And 98% of text messages are read by the end of the day. And I think that's powerful, right, Travis? That's a
Yeah.
way to get, especially when we're talking about these constant touches. That's a good touch. That one landed, right?
Yep. That, and the messengers as well. I mean, the email open rate is, I don't know, it's like less than 8% now or something. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not great, So if you're trying to get a message across or trying to connect with someone, texting or messenger is, I think, the number one way.
Yeah, and we still, our theory as a company is still, utilize the email, utilize the CRM system email because it is a touch. You may not have got a response, but they probably saw it when they were deleting it, right?
I saw that you tried to reach out, and there are still people that open emails and prefer to communicate with emails.
100%, Travis. So
It's kind of like you have to do them all, and some people prefer a phone call. I mean, I have a client right now that prefers to talk on the phone, and that's fine.
yes.
I have some that start out on Messenger and they say, "Hey, can you email me?" and they prefer email, and whatever. So
Yeah,
I do them all, but texting and Messenger is definitely the number one lately.
for sure. So, with that, our paramount job as realtors is to build out a list of past and present clients, cell numbers, all information, and generate a very, very strategic and calculated message that we're going to send out to each one based on which stage of home ownership life cycle that they're in, right? So, and that leads us to point 2, investing in a CRM that will grow with you. So our agent marketing CRM is awesome. It's getting better all the time, and it does integrate with other CRMs like LionDesk. So if there's certain features that you like with LionDesk, you can certainly integrate our agent marketing system with any of those CRMs that you may be using. Probably not all of them, but most of the ones that are out there, they've figured out the API keys and so forth to connect those. So where I was going with that is with the CRM, you are able to basically track all of the information for each client. And so what I do and what really smart agents will do is they have a task set in their CRM for every single client in there or prospect. Because if there's somebody that's in your CRM, you better be communicating with them. And here's the great thing. Call each of them at least once a year. Once a quarter is probably great. And I'm talking about a phone call. And weed them out. If they're, boil it to a head. If they're like, you know what, I don't want to work with you at all, great. Get them out of the CRM. But they and most people appreciate the phone call. They appreciate you wanting to know assertively if you can still provide them with useful information on a periodic basis. If you make sure that they know that you have a great website that connects to the MLS and they can check stuff and all those little things, then you've got a great person that you've got a relationship with, and you're not being a pest. You're being a very professional person that is providing them with value. So the CRM allows you to take the guesswork out. You don't want to be flying around by the seat of your pants. Oh, did I call that one guy that I did business with 2 years ago? That should never be a question. It should all be in the CRM. So the other thing is the CRMs, all CRMs allow you to create notes. So, you want to have detailed notes about exactly what's going on with that client. Like Travis said, this client likes to talk on the phone. Make sure that they get a phone call. So maybe in your task, your quarterly or your monthly task is to give them a phone call. Maybe another one is a younger person, a millennial kind of person that says, hey, hey, bro, just, text me, right? So you got to communicate, and you got to have those notes in your CRM so you remember, and you're going to remember a lot of them. And actually, you're going to remember a lot better when you put those notes in, because it crystallizes the thinking. And it's almost like you got to remove that from your brain space, right? And now that's, it's in your CRM. You don't have to think about it because it's over there. That's kind of the way I work is, we all have only so much stuff that we can be thinking about at any given time. So that's huge, just getting a good CRM. And like I said, if you don't like, the agent marketing CRM, there's tons of them out there, and we can integrate them. I can help you, not a problem. So that's detailed notes. It's very specific notes. And then that helps you with your communications with that person on whatever, quarterly basis or whatever it is. Hey, just checking in on whatever we talked about last time. You have the notes, right? And again, you get to just ditch that out of your brain space, and you know that you can just go back to your CRM and go, oh, yeah, this is what's going on with that person. Travis, before I go on, any kind of words of wisdom with respect to that?
No, CRM management is key to our success. If you're not using the email drips and anything, if anything, use it for your database. I mean, if you like to do, Christmas cards or birthday cards or anything like that, you can always do, you can extract the CSV file of all of your contacts if you want to do any type of, little mailer or something like that as well. So it's a good place to just store all of your contacts as well, instead of having them, here and there, and emails and spreadsheets and spread out all over the place. You can at least have a central hub for all of your stuff. So
Absolutely.
use it for that at minimum.
At minimum. And then, I would say, of course, and then you've got to use it for your monthly newsletters. So every agent, there's no excuse, has to have a monthly newsletter. So I will beat that dead horse all day. Okay, so, and then, the last part is really, it's all very, very much connected, but building your personal brand digitally. I mean, we talk about this ad nauseum, right? So it's important to show, not just tell the customers and the prospects why they should choose you. You've got to create the story in your digital brand. You have to think about what other agents don't do. And more importantly, you got to think about what you do really well. Certain agents, have little, specialties that are really easy to market. Some agents do their own staging. Some agents, maybe even do their own photography. Who knows? Every agent has something that they're really, really good at, and they can use that in your marketing to kind of differentiate yourself and to build your brand around that. So you always want to think about what other people aren't doing and what you do well, and what you might be able to do that is slightly different from, what other people are doing, So you got to ask yourself, are there opportunities for referrals here? Say you love to fish, right? Say you love sports. Say you love, a certain college basketball team. Whatever is that connection, right? Those are the things that you can kind of, build as your kind of your brand, right? So once you've kind of established that brand, then you want to keep that messaging consistent, right? You want to continue to, you don't want to stray, and one day your brand is talking about one aspect, and then the next day your brand is completely different, right? You want to be very, very consistent with your messaging overall. And so your social media has the same kind of, communications and messaging. Your website has the same kind of, look and feel. And we have a lot of agents that really do a great job of that. And they have, some of them are working on teams, and they have a team name that they're, marketing. And so all of their stuff has maybe a congruent color or a congruent theme. And so really, really important to build out that brand digitally. And I talk a lot about, making sure that your digital footprint is looking good. And what I mean by the digital footprint is when somebody Googles your name and the word real estate or realtor or your association or something to that effect, you want to make sure that your information comes up on Google in the Google search results, or the search engine search results if you're using Bing or whatever. And you want to make sure that you control that information. And so easy ways to do that is make sure that you maintain and claim all of your social media accounts. Claim all of your business accounts, business directories like Yelp, Yahoo, Google. There's all kinds of local business directories that give you a free listing. And you want to make sure that you fill all of those things out as much as you can, because those are going to now pop up when somebody Googles your name, not some other weird stuff that you don't control. You can also make sure that you build out a YouTube channel. You make sure you have your Facebook. All of those are very high page rank websites that really, will go on the search engine results first. They're search engine optimized. They spend thousands and actually millions of dollars to be there. And all you have to do is claim those. And then that way your information is correct and is popping up. Also, you want to make sure that you do it periodically to make sure that there's not old information that could be confusing clients. So another, really important thing, and that's obviously an entire webinar that I've done a few times. You can find it on our YouTube channel. Establishing your digital footprint. I've probably got 3 or 4 of them. So anyway, that's what we're talking about. So I encourage all of you to do a Google search, see what your digital brand looks like, see what your digital footprint looks like. And so you not just are starting to control it, but you're also very aware of what's being said online about you, what's posted there, right? So really, really important. And so really that is the bulk of the presentation today. I want to open it up to questions, of course. And while we're doing some questions, I'd like to bring Bill back on the line if we could. And Bill, any good takeaways for you today?
Yeah, Kevin, the statistic about the 11 moves that's a pretty profound statistic. Just thinking back in my life now, and I think I've already surpassed 11 moves. But
I'm way past that, buddy.
So if I wasn't a licensed person myself, I think a realtor would have done very well with me.
Oh yes.
And and I still have probably a few moves to go. So that is an incredible statistic. I mean, that is, if everyone doesn't mark that in the back of their brain, I don't know, yeah. what you're going to do. But additionally, I think that you mentioned just being proficient at each method of communication is really important. Certain things that we probably like ourselves don't always work for our clients. So you do have to embrace the things that are going to work for certain clientele versus other clientele. Maybe they're elderly, maybe they're younger, maybe they're, like you said, in their 20s, and they prefer just all text. And if we're not embracing texting as our primary method for them, then you're not going to be as effective as trying to get that sale or converting that client.
Yeah.
But another incredible webinar. So much good information, Kevin. So, great job.
Awesome. And so, really it does get back to the, using multiple ways to connect with your clients. And so, very important. So anyway, guys, really, really enjoyed having you guys on the webinar, and I look forward to next week. Not next week, but the following week, we are going to have, or actually it is next week. We're going to have
next week.
It is next week. We're going to have our gentleman joining us and talking to us about 1031 exchanges. So super important. Make sure to take lots of notes. But we look forward to having you guys on the webinar next week, and get out there, make it a productive week, and we'll see you next week.